Hello, one and all. It's my view of My Hero Academia, chapter 335, Zygots. And the big reveal of this chapter is that we have finally learned the identity of the UA traitor. And it's Invisible Girl! Who'd have thunk it? Everybody, literally everybody thunk it. I mean, she is a freaking invisible girl. She is the best spy among everyone in class 1A, 1B, and among all the teachers, so obviously she's a spy. Plus, following the old anime trope, the most inconspicuous, the most unnoticeable and forgettable character in any group is secretly super powerful and super evil, and nobody is more forgettable than Invisible Girl. I think the author has even gone on record on saying that he has forgotten about her from time to time, which, oh, that's sad. That is so sad, and just makes her such an absolutely perfect spy. Though if we are following that trope, it also means that she is secretly way more powerful than she's let on. I mean, up to this point, all she can really do is make herself invisible, kind of bend light around her a little bit, and somewhat make other things invisible, though not all that well. But if she is, secretly a spy, secretly a traitor, she'd be capable of so very, very much more. I mean, maybe she doesn't actually have to be naked to fight. Maybe she can actually, make her clothes invisible as well, which seems like a really, really weird thing to lie about unless she's a massive exhibitionist, which, okay, maybe. But I think it's way more likely, her lying about that was a means of her being able to sneak in other things into UA. She's holding a camera, a microphone, a phone, a transceiver, all sorts of other equipment she can use to basically allow All for One to spy on the class, to learn everything he needs to about the class, the students, their powers, their mental mindset, so that he can form the perfect strategy to utterly and completely destroy them, both physically and psychologically. I mean, it was definitely weird when during the prison break, he perfectly knew exactly what Deku would do. It's like, dude, you have never even met Deku. You've never been close to Deku. How do you know so much about him? It's because Invisible Girl was either telling him everything or straight up just holding a camera this entire time and live streaming all the data directly to him. Which would be interesting. Definitely interesting. Also, let's not ignore the fact that if she can turn other things invisible as well, she might actually be the world's deadliest assassin. Way more deadly than Lady Nagant because, she can basically walk up to someone on the street, holding a gun, shoot him, and then walk away, and nobody would notice because they wouldn't have seen the shooter or the gun, and all they would see would be, the person basically falling to the ground dead. So yeah, she could definitely be way more dangerous than she's let on. And if she does actually have that much control of her quirk, I think it's also quite possible she can actually make herself visible, but she hasn't. Either because, A, she's actually a Nomu. She looks like these Nomus, her brain sticking out of her skull, purple skin, all that, which is really freaking weird, and she's trying to hide that fact, which, would be interesting, could lead some really cool fights down the road with her, basically pulling out all her Nomu powers to fight against the class while being completely invisible. Like I said, some interesting possibilities there, but I think B is way more interesting. What if invisibility wasn't her original quirk? What if she was a mutant-type quirk user like Spinner, and because of her quirk, her body was horrifically disfigured and formed, like melting, or just so ugly that, like Spinner, she was discriminated against constantly, so much so that even going outside was a traumatic experience for her. Actually, what if she was the sludge villain that All Might fought in Chapter 1? Okay, that's an interesting possibility. But either way, somehow, someway, All for One found her and made a deal with her. I mean, the invisibility is more like a band-aid, a way to hide her disfigured face from the outside world, and if she actually finishes the mission, actually spies on UA, and gets him all the information he needs, then he'll take away her original quirk. He'll let her become normal, and that certainly fits in line with what we've seen All for One do in the past. I mean, the flashback we saw with the first user, All for One took quirks and gave quirks to earn people's trust, to make people, owe him a favor so they would do what he wants, and that's exactly what he might have done here with Invisible Girl. Of course, vanity certainly seems like a pretty bad reason to, willingly help a man who's killed so many thousands upon thousands of people. So I feel like Invisible Girl might be having some second thoughts here. Like maybe she didn't actually realize what All For One was actually planning. And then after the attack on UA, she realized that she was too deep in. If she actually, told the truth, she actually went to the professors and said, I did this, I helped him with this, I was part of this, then she'd basically be thrown in Tartarus for the rest of her life. So her only other choice was basically to follow All For One. But now, he's done so much. He's caused so much death and destruction and pain and suffering that she can't, sit through anymore. Maybe she'll actually go to the class, actually go to All Might and say, listen up, I'm the traitor, I'm the spy. I've been secretly helping All For One this entire time. And hey, you know what? I actually know where he is right now. I know the exact location of the cave he's in. So just go there now and go fight him. I mean, that would certainly be interesting, and that could lead to a very interesting fight where it's basically the entire class trying to reach Shigaraki and All for One before Shigaraki heals enough where he's able to fight again. You know, an arced fight, a layered fight. You know, oh, they fight Toga first, then Dabi, then Spinner, and then All for One, then finally actually reach Shigaraki. But at that point, you know, he's finished healing and he's up to full strength again. Oh no! That could be interesting. It definitely could be interesting. But if my theory is right and her quirk wasn't originally invisibility, that does actually raise a question. Well then, how exactly did she get into UA? I feel like they do some rather thorough background checks on the students to make sure they are who they say they are. And for Invisible Girl, that's pretty simple, you know? She's invisible. Nobody would notice if she was replaced, if the person who had the invisibility quirk originally was replaced by a different girl. So it could be very likely that All for One murdered the original invisibility girl and then gave her quirk to the girl we've known as Invisibility Girl for the entirety of this series. Oh, that'd be interesting. That'd definitely be interesting. Though I should also probably point out that while All for One says he has friends to spare, while we see a panel of Invisible Girl, that doesn't necessarily mean that she's the spy. Maybe, you know, she's happened to figure out the identity of the spy because, you know, she's freaking Invisible Girl and was able to see them reporting to All for One without them seeing her. That would make a certain amount of sense. That'd be an interesting twist, interesting, you know, turn for the series to take. Though there have been some rather interesting moments in the past that do seem to imply Invisible Girl might actually be the traitor. I mean, during the first attack on UA, she said that she was in the same biome as Shoto, but Shoto never actually saw her and didn't realize she was there at all. So is it possible that Korogiri moved her somewhere else, somewhere she'd be safe, and that's why, you know, Shoto didn't see her because she actually wasn't there? Then shortly after that, when they actually all went to the mall and Deku ran to Shigaraki, it was Invisible Girl who recommended they all go to the mall together, almost as if she was leading Deku right into a trap. And finally, during this whole big fight to get Deku back into UA, Invisible Girl wasn't really a part of it at all, which I found surprising. I mean, Deku's danger sense wasn't being triggered by his classmates because they didn't actually want to hurt him, so I figured, oh, she'd come in from the back and attack him because he actually wouldn't see her coming, and she'd be able to drug him or do something to him to knock him out to win the fight. Yay! But that didn't happen, so is it because she's actually working for All for One and didn't actually want Deku to come back to UA? I'm not sure about that, But either way, like I said before, I think it'd be really interesting if it turns out to, you know, actually be the spy, but decides to change her mind and, you know, basically warn Deku and everyone else about exactly what All for One's planning, about exactly what she's told him. Or even if she does actually end up being just super evil, I would love to see what her quirk is fully capable of when she's not holding back, when she's not pretending to be as weak as she actually is. Anyway, though, back to this chapter, All Might explains that because of Star and Stripe's attack on Shigaraki, she was able to do enough damage where a bunch of his quirks were destroyed, and he took so much damage that it's going to take him a while to recover. They have time to prepare to get ready for the next big fight against a whole bunch of people. I do love the fact that, as All Might explains every last one of them, he does not mention Spinner at all. All Might has basically forgotten that Spinner is even a member of the League of Villains. I mean, seriously, that's sad. That is really sad. I mean, I know that Spinner's quirk isn't really all that impressive, but still, he's been there since the very beginning, or at least, you know, since after the Stain arc, and it really does make me think that Spinner's going to end up being super important to this fight in one way or another. Maybe he'll actually end up betraying All for One for the sake of Shigaraki, or maybe All for One will, you know, end up giving him a whole bunch more quirks to make him super powerful. Oh, that'd be an interesting twist. That'd be a very interesting twist. I mean, everyone's, you know, underestimating Spinner only for him to pull out like 5 other quirks that he's able to use to completely and utterly obliterate Class 1A. That would definitely be interesting. But anyway, he goes down the whole list besides Spinner. Shigaraki, obviously the most dangerous villain in the entire world. I mean, he can literally disintegrate an entire freaking city with a touch of his hand, and he just survived multiple missiles being blown up in his face. So that's bad. All for One, obviously the original evil, the worst of the worst. I mean, not as strong as Shigaraki is right now, but, you know, he's clever, he's smart, he has plans upon plans, and he knows how to use his quirks way better than Shigaraki does, so still a very dangerous threat. And then there's Dabi, the madman with flames, as fierce as endeavors. That is certainly an interesting way to describe him. I think it's interesting that All Might refers to him as Dabi rather than Toya. I mean, they know his real name, and yet they're still calling him by his, you know, villain identity. Curious. And of course, then we have Toga, who is a constant thorn in their side, which, yeah, you know, makes a lot of sense. I mean, after Invisible Girl, she is the world's best spy. She can literally become anyone if she just manages to get a little bit of their blood. And while All Might and the rest of them don't know this, she still has a bit of Deku's blood from back during the hero licensing exam, so she is super, super dangerous, and I have absolutely no idea what she's actually planning on doing with that, but it's gonna be bad. It's gonna be bad. And I'm also seeing someone complaining online about Toga because, she had this whole thing during the big war against the League of Villains where she was really questioning exactly what she was doing, why she was a villain, all that. And then when Shigaraki fled, he kind of left her behind. So, yeah, why is she back with Shigaraki now? I mean, I get, she identifies as a villain, she identifies the League as a place where she belongs, but at the same time, I mean, how exactly did she find her way back to the League? Deku has been trying for, weeks and weeks to find his way to Shigaraki and All For One, and yet Toga managed to make it work somehow, some way. I'm very curious about that, and I want to see a flashback of her just, after the big battle, how exactly she escaped, how exactly she found Shigaraki, All For One, the rest of them again. Very, very curious about that. And then we have the 6 remaining near high-end Nomus. I mean, it seems very, very unlikely that All For One will build any more Nomus, so these are the 6, ones they really, really need to fear right now. And I actually have a rather interesting theory about one of them. I'm not sure which one, but at least one of them. I think one of these Nomus is Crimson Riot, the hero that Kirishima idolized, the hero that Kirishima so badly wanted to become like, the hero Kirishima viewed as the ultimate pinnacle of manliness. I think that's going to be Kirishima's big final ultimate fight in the series, basically fighting against, his own hero, his own personal All Might. And that'll be fun, that'll be a lot of fun. Though actually, now I think about it, I think Gigantomachia is way more likely to be Crimson Riot because, Kirishima actually has a relationship with him. I mean, that was, the big bad villain that scared Kirishima so badly in the past, so I think that'll make a lot more sense if, his big final arc in the series is fighting Gigantomachia, the one that made him so afraid, the one that made him think he couldn't actually be a hero, and, basically just overcoming that. I mean, I have absolutely no freaking clue how Kirishima would fight Gigantomachia, but I'm very, very excited to see it. So yeah, one way or another, I definitely think Kirishima will end up fighting Crimson Riot somehow, some way. Anyway, though, on top of all that, we still have the remnants of the Liberation Army and all the escaped convict villains who, just out there causing chaos and destruction. So, yeah, that's bad. That is very, very bad. And All Might tells them, Class 1A, it's time. You need to prepare. You need to get ready. You need to strengthen yourself as best you can for the upcoming war. At which point Bako screams, "What the freak do you think we've been doing? I mean, seriously, while you and Deku have been gallivanting around Japan trying to track down Shigaraki, do you think we're all just sitting in our thumbs here? What do you think we've been doing this entire time? We have been training as best we can. We've been preparing. We've been testing ourselves. We've been pushing ourselves time and time again. A lot of us even have new outfits. We've been getting ready for this war in our own way, in our own time, while we were waiting for you guys to come back." Which, makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense. They definitely seemed a little bit more well coordinated, a little bit stronger in the fight against Deku, so I'm very excited to see what they're fully capable of in the big final battle against Shigaraki and all the other villains. And also love that Bako is just still Bako. I mean, seriously. Deku's like, "Bako said he'd train with me," and then Bako just starts absolutely freaking screaming at him. I mean, I like that Bako grew a little. I like that Bako actually apologized to Deku, but at the same time, like I said, Bako is still Bako. He's still hot-headed and he's still a bit of a tsundere, but that's what I freaking love about him. And Kirishima is still the class's resident punching bag, as he offers let everyone beat him up as much as they want, so he can get even stronger and harder than he was before, which that actually kind of reminds me of Gamagori from Kill la Kill a little bit, in a very, very disturbing way. Okay, let's not think about that. Let's not think about that. Anyway, as All Might's looking at this, looking at all the students, he realizes, wow, you were such little, zygotes before, unhatched chickens, but now you're able to spread your wings. Now you become truly strong, truly powerful. And All For One, you should not have messed with my freaking students, because they are going to kick your freaking butt. Oh, All Might, you're so proud of them. You're so proud of them. And like I said before, Shigaraki is just screaming in absolute pain and agony because, like I said before, Star and Stripe did a whole bunch of damage to him, and it's going to take him a while to recover. It's going to take him quite a while to recover, and, all this just serving to fuel his hatred even more, which seems to make All For One very, very happy. As you can see a twisted smile on his face. As he says, as their minds begin to fuse, soon Shigaraki's hatred will become his own. That is worrying. That is very, very worrying. I mean, I've said before, and it was hinted by Endeavor, that with each quirk All For One takes and gives, he basically loses a piece of himself, a piece of his soul. And over the centuries he's been alive, he's basically turned himself into a freaking demon. So what's going to happen when he regains his humanity? What's going to happen when he regains that part of him that allows him to, basically feel feelings again. I think it's gonna be bad. I think it's gonna be very, very bad. And with all that hatred at his disposal, he'll finally be able to overcome One For All. He'll finally be able to steal the quirk and make it his own, and just become a freaking god of death and destruction. Oh, that'll be bad. That'll be very, very bad. And then he goes on to explain to Dobby that he has plans upon plans upon plans, things he set up years ago, decades ago, that are all leading to his final point, all leading to him taking on One For All and basically dominating the entire freaking world. So, yeah, that's so bad, as it seems like part of his plan is Invisible Girl is actually using her as a spy to either infiltrate UA or learn about Deku and the rest of them, or all the above. And yeah, I mean, she looks somewhat nervous here. I mean, the way she's holding her hands like this, it feels like a nervous gesture, like she's afraid of what's going to happen next. So maybe I'm right. Maybe she's actually, terrified of how far she's fallen, of what she's done for the sake of vanity, and, basically the fact that she's sold out all of Japan, all of the world to a madman, all just so she can become beautiful again, or beautiful for the first time. Either way. So that's concerning. That's very, very concerning, and I'm very excited. I know a lot of people are mad and angry, like, oh, it should have been Kirishima, should have been Kaminari, should have been Mineta, one of them should have been the UA Traitor, and while that would have been more interesting, for the reveal, I think moving forward, Invisible Girl is probably going to be the best possible choice, not just because she has the best quirk for it, but because she's probably going to have a story of how All For One recruited her, how she became a spy. That's going to be so much more interesting, and I cannot freaking wait to see that. But please, let me know down below. Do you think that Invisible Girl is actually the real traitor, or is it someone else? Is she the only traitor? Why is she betraying everyone? Do you think she actually looks hideous and disgusting if we could really see her? Can we really see her? Are we actually going to see her real physical form before the end of the series? Let me know down below. Be sure to like, subscribe to the next video. And until then, peace!